Gym&Musiceh, Gym&Musiceh, hey, Gym&Musiceh, oh, so much. Gym&Musiceh, Gym&Musiceh, hey, Gym&Musiceh, oh, so much. Gym&Musiceh, Gym&Musiceh, hey, Gym&Musiceh, oh, so much more.
A reading from Philosophical Narrative Therapy, Phi Nu Theta. How to Be a Philosopher in a Non-Philosophical World by Brian A. Redekop, 2021 CE. Chapter 2. Gym&MusicA. Yes, gym and music, but oh, so much more. Gym, from gymnastics, looks to the best physical functioning of the body, as well as its health, and should not be confused with the Olympic discipline. Music, as I use it here, will include other elements according to the Greek term musike, which goes beyond what we normally call music to all the things that the Greek muses of the Olympiad are said to inspire, including drama, comedy, history, poetry, and all kinds of songs and dance. Music is related to the emotional and cognitive parts of humanity, and in this chapter we will look at the initial foundations for emotional and intellectual health and attempt to see how young humans can overcome their initial helplessness to obtain free thought. My goal is to discover how free thought can arise in early life and at what point the philosophical narrative can begin. I will take education to be the necessary part of formation for a child who is born helpless into this world, as all human beings are, which I also refer to as a docile state. The end of education is thus the beginning of free thought, when the child is able to take responsibility for their decisions, first for themselves and then for their community. I will attempt to see how gymnastics, seen as the health and fitness of the body, and music, with all its storytelling and dance-worthy counterparts, seen as the health and fitness of the emotional aspects of life, can lead to the ability to think logically and emotionally about one's own good and the good of the community. Education thus serves as a type of allegorical cell, like Plato's cave, where we are unfree both in our physical movement and our thoughts, as a means of protection for our fragile state, until we have the ability to make good decisions on our own. In other words, education can provide a safe environment for human beings to develop until the point that we are free.
Gym&Musiceh, and oh, so much more. Well, free thought is the goal of learning, the ability to make decisions. That's thinking, to take responsibility, but mostly to have fun. Alright, when we know what we can and cannot do, we understand freedom. And we got Gym&Musiceh, Gym&Musiceh, hey!
Freedom and free thought. Free thought is free in the same way that we are free to ride a bike only when we know how. The ability to think is about using reason effectively. We have developed many tools for the effective use of reason, such as logic, argumentation, mathematics, the scientific method, and language itself. The greater one's ability to use these tools, the freer they are to think. As someone who has spent years as a language teacher, as well as a children's entertainer, I've been able to observe how people's ability to use logic and argument improves the learning process. Generally, when I speak of free thought to a non-philosopher, they associate it with the imagination rather than disciplined problem-solving techniques, which they consider to be conditioned and systematized. For these non-philosophers, the system is unfree, and when they are free, they wish to fly like a bird, untethered by rules and order. Naturally, a bird has wings. When people have free time, they want to enjoy it. This often leads to games or the enjoyment of MusicA, including dramatic or comedic narratives, singing, dancing, etc., either in person or through a medium of some sort. There is some music that provokes movement in the body prior to our ability to understand it, as happens with dance music. Other types of free time activities require a minimum understanding of language and social relations, with games requiring a set of rules. We are free to listen to a podcast in Mandarin Chinese, but unless we know the language, we can only participate in the very limited sense of listening to the sounds and guessing at the emotions of the speakers. For most people, this would not be very enjoyable. This is freedom in the positive sense. We are free when we are able. It took me a while to figure out the rules of association football, soccer, and to understand how the 11 positions on the field were managed. But when I did, I was very much able to enjoy the sport, both by playing and by watching. Another example is how people who aren't from North America have trouble understanding the political satire on Saturday Night Live, Stephen Colbert, and others, precisely because they are unaware of the politics behind them. Some activities, like chess or classical music, require previous education or formation, and we are not free to enjoy them unless we understand how they work and follow the rules. When people relate free thought to imagination and begin to fantasize about magical wizards with unicorns and fairies, they are still using facts and known images in their creations, just with different associations and combinations, as Hume discusses in an enquiry concerning human understanding. One of the basic tenets in philosophical narrative therapy is that all fiction requires facts to produce the necessary verisimilitude to engage the audience. And some facts are based entirely on fiction. We may not believe in magic, but we do recognize how normal facts are changed in order to make it possible in our fantasy world. It is also a fact that Darth Vader uses the dark side of the Force, a phrase where the only words that are not fictitious are uses the dark. Once again, free thought requires knowledge of systems and rules in order to create strange new worlds and utopic civilizations. It is not purely random. Freedom can also be considered in the negative sense of what it means to be free. When a prisoner speaks about freedom, they are talking about the negation of their locked cell, a freedom from imprisonment. Naturally, prisoners must follow many rules and are part of a system, so perhaps this is why people might confuse systems and rules with being unfree. Breaking the established rules is a negative freedom that can be positive in its result, like when a tyrannical despot is overthrown or one is freed from unjust imprisonment, though it will require an improvement over the current situation to consider it a truly positive freedom. Breaking the rules in a game or sport may offer a temporary advantage in play, but since the rules were created to ensure that a matching of abilities is even possible, no one will want to play with you if you do not play by the rules. With the body and its material wants, freedom is positive when the body is able to experience pleasure, and negative when it is a release from discomfort. Pleasures of the body are naturally related to our health, where we generally enjoy things which satisfy our cravings. This is observable in the natural world, what's left of it anyway. But in the human world, with our novel social realities, it isn't necessarily the case. Children, for example, desire sweet things because of the quick energy they provide in the exploration of spaces which are so much larger due to their relative size. Children will quickly learn that when they overdo it on sweets, it can make their stomach hurt, especially when we provide them with foods that maximize sweetness with refined sugar. Pleasures are good things when they are enjoyed in moderation, literally the mode or way of reason, with a mind to health and fitness.
Hey, Gym and Music A, you know so much more. We play at being explorers, discovering new worlds. Builders who create things friendly with the earth. Well, we can play on instruments, we can take the stage. Play roles in the greatest stories, even that of a sage. Like a wizard or a philosopher.
What is the good?
You know so much. We play games, we create, we make music, so much. Tell stories.
Once upon a time, there was a species who had the possibility of making great things together. And so much more. A Phi Nu Theta production.